We are here at Brad Owen's meetup game at Choctaw, WP&T's newest ambassador. Shout out to Brad Owen. I am here. Wasn't sure I was going to record, but I decided I had to. The legend commentator Vincent Patton is here. We got into some big hands. Brad's coming to my table right now. Make sure to tune in. Let's have a time and a half.
Just had a delicious steak dinner with the homie Knock. Frankie not here tonight. He's playing a session up at Choctaw. But
and we got a crazy one for you guys today. If you like to see big pots, good cards, and us winning the pots,
maybe
you're in for a treat.
Stay tuned.
First hand we get involved with tonight is a $15 double board Omaha bomb pot, and we're dealt ace-6, 5-4 in the hijack. The two flops come 9-6-5 with two diamonds and ace-4-4 with two clubs. Beauty of a flop, two pair and a full house. It checks to low jack and he pots it for 135. I decide just to call, hoping to string in a few other players. However, everyone else folds. The turns are an offsuit 9 and the 5 of clubs. We still have a boat on one board, but our two pair is downgraded on the top board. Low jack goes all in for $300, and I'm never folding here. I make the call. We're off to two rivers, and they're the 6 of hearts. We boat up on the top board too, and the 3 of spades on the bottom. Now we've got a full house on both boards. I table my hand and see that we were up against ace-9, king-8 with two diamonds. He had trips with a diamond draw on one board and top pair on the other. We end up rivering him and scooping in this whole pot, doubling up right away to start off the session. There we go.
The first hand for us is the second hand dealt. I know nothing about any of the players, but I do know that we have pocket queens in the big blind. Let's go. Under the gun straddles to 10. The cutoff makes it 35. That won't be enough. We bump it up to $150, but the cutoff does make the call. Off to a flop heads up, which comes Jack, Jack, Deuce, Rainbow. Can't be scared of that. Jack, we are going to bet here. I make it $125. He does make the call. So we're off to the turn with about 560 or so in the middle, which is the 3 of diamonds, the second diamond, and it's time to keep value betting. I make it $200. I don't want to get his middling pocket pairs to fold here. We could have gone for the jam on the turn, as we were 750 effective to start the hand, but jamming 475 into 560 would let him get off the hook with hands like 10s and 9s, hands that we need to stay in here. So I make it 200, and he does make the call. Off to a river, which is the offsuit 7, and now is where I think I make a mistake. There's like 960 or so in the middle. We don't have a lot left, and I'm worried about the jack at this point. I think that's flawed logic because we don't have enough behind. Like if we check and he jams, we're not gonna fold. So let's put the chips in ourselves, and again, not let him off the hook with weaker hands. I make the mistake of checking, I believe. He checks it back, we show, and with two hands dealt, we win an almost $1,000 pot.
Our first hand of the day, we get into a $2,500 pot with pocket 7s. I started recording after I was all in, so I did an interview with our opponent to recap this hand. We just got in the biggest pot of Jonathan's life. He's going to be here to run through the hand details. We're 1K effective. Yep. Button limps. I like to have pocket 7s in the small blind. I bump it up to $40. Jonathan in the big blind.
Yeah, well, we look down at premium hands, so naturally we're going to pivot it up to 160.
The button cold calls 160 after limping. Super strong action. Have the implied odds, 1K effective. I decide to make the call.
You're priced in. What are you going to do?
Kind of priced in, right? Go into a flop, which is beautiful. King 7-3 rainbow. Naturally, we check to the aggressor, who decides to.
Well, I'm going to check it back, deception, pot control. We'll see what those are.
Jonathan checks, and the button checks. The turn is a 2. Yep. Now, I'm trying to get value myself. I put out a bet of $250.
I mean, that's a pretty big bet. I like to just call, and we're going to reevaluate on the river.
He makes the call, so now I'm thinking about poly pocket aces, ace-king. I'm hoping he has one of those two hands. And the button makes the call as well. I've seen him lose a couple all-ins already, so we're pretty excited going to a pretty big pot.
Yep.
With 550-ish left, the river comes another 2.
It fills up?
Full house.
Come on.
Okay, 1 play left. I push it all in. And Jonathan?
Well, I have to Hollywood for a minute because, we're trying to induce some action from the buttons. Naturally, I go all in. Button tank folds.
Button tank folds.
Yeah.
Shows pocket queens. I flip over my pocket 7s, and Jonathan has.
I look at Frankie and I go, Frankie, I have the nuts. And I table Cowboys.
Pocket kings. Nice hand, Jonathan.
Nice hand. Pat on the table.
Couldn't lose it to a better sport, and we're going to keep trying to run it up in this video game.
Yeah, another fun hand.
Yeah, let's go.
Come on.
Next hand, we're dealt the Cowboys on the button. There's one limp, a hijack open to 25. The cutoff calls. I decide to 3-bet here in position to $100. The limper makes the call, surprisingly. The initial aggressor folds, and the cutoff calls as well, so we're 3 ways in a pretty large pot already. It's Jack 10-5 rainbow. When it checks to me, I bet 150, and the limper decides to call, and the cutoff calls as well, so a bit alarming. However, if either of them had 2 pair or a set, I'd expect them to raise this board pretty often. The turn is the 6 of spades, the second spade on board, and they both check to me again. The limper has about 215 behind, and the cutoff has about 250. I put them both to the test and go all in. The limper decides to call all in, and the cutoff decides to get out of the way. So we're heads up running to a river, which is the 10 of hearts. I show the kings, and he flips over king queen offsuit. He called us with an open-ended straight draw and did not get there. Luckily, we scoop in another pot, and our stack is up to $1,800, starting off the session hot.
Before Brad Owen gets to the table, we get a chance to play with a poker announcer that you all have probably heard before. His name is Vincent Van Patten. We've been battling against each other ever since he sat down. We've been getting into so many pots together, it really feels like we're playing heads up. This hand, we look down at king queen offsuit in early position, and Vincent has a $25 button straddle on. We open 3x to $75, and it folds around to Vincent, who isn't going to fold his straddle to a young, newly college graduate. He makes the call.
Vinny, how do you always have a hand? You still always have a hand?
Going off to a flop, which comes Jack 10-3 rainbow.
Does anyone call you Vinny or no, just Vince? Does anyone call you Vinny? Yeah, I like Vinny. Well, Vinny, what do you want me to bet?
Up to you. What's your name again?
Frankie.
Frankie?
Yeah.
Frankie and Vinny.
Yeah, right? Yeah. Let's go.
You don't have to bet.
I do. And I'm going to go.
Vinny in position does make the call to $80, so we're heading to a turn with a big pot brewing, which comes a red 7. Still have the open-ended straight draw, but only king high. I bet again for $175.
I'm going to make a really tight laydown. Really tight laydown.
Vinny shows a jack and folds.
Show me the bluff.
Come on, Frankie.
Come on. Oh, he's doing it.
It's a good hand.
It's a good hand.
What a fun freaking dude and an awesome hand to go with it.
If you are a fan of our poker coaching Jonathan Little tip of the vlog segment, pay attention to this one. We've got ace-5 of hearts on the button, folds all the way to me. I open it up to $20 and the big blind calls. Off to a flop, which is 9-8-6 with 2 hearts. We flop the nut flush draw and a gutter. He checks, we c-bet for 25, and he check raises us to $100. We're not going anywhere, and we make the call. Off to the turn, which is the 5 of spades, gives us a pair. It's an offsuit card. He doesn't slow down. He now bets $130. We now have a pair to go along with our nut flush draw. We got an overcard too. Let's stick around to the river. I make the call, and the river is the 7 of diamonds. There's now a straight on the board. We've bricked our draws, and he leads out for $305 on a 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 board. And I go into the tank. I don't like the idea of calling to at best chop. I also don't like the idea that we've invested over $250 or something like that into this pot and we're just gonna give up. So I go into the tank. I end up making the fold, but Jonathan Little, what would you do facing this river bet from him? And what do you do in general when you feel like you're just calling to at best chop the pot?
Because I think you block a lot of the flush draws, so you can remove a lot of those. And I'm not convinced a 7 will always bluff the river, because you could easily have a 10. I think this is a spot where when your opponent does bet the river, they will be pretty inclined to have a 10. And I also don't think they would check raise hands like sets and 2 pairs on the flop and then turn them into bluffs by the river. So this is certainly a bad spot. I would not fault you for calling, but I think in general in this exact scenario with your specific hand, I think folding makes a whole lot of sense.
We're planning to go to Vegas for the WSOP. In this hand we pick up lucky pocket 7s on the button. A short stack limps in the cutoff. I decide to isolate him for $30 on the button, and the big blind 3-bets me to 120. The short stack calls all in for 35, and it's back onto me. We're about $1,200 effective with the big blind, so I think this is a good spot to call, see a flop in position, as well as there's some dead money out there. I call, hopefully we can make 3 sevens, and what better board to do it on than 10, 7, 6 with 2 hearts. Fantastic board for us, let's go. And I'm hoping the big blind's got a big pair, however, he checks it to me. I bet $75, hoping to rope him in with 2 overcards, and for that price, he decides it's fair enough for a call. The turn is another 7, and we make quads. Time to buy a lotto ticket today, I guess. He checks to me, and if he's got any sort of draw or overpair or even a pair of 10s, I want to make sure I'm getting a lot of money in here and hopefully getting stacks in by the river. I bet $200, and he unfortunately lets his hand go. This might have been a better card to check on and possibly allow him to bluff, but we went for the max value and didn't get paid. But who can complain about quads, right?
Still waiting for Mr. Brad to sit down, but the cards keep coming. I look down at ace-jack suited in the small blind, Jimmy in the low jack limps for 5, and I bump it up to 35. Earlier, Jimmy told me he's a fan of the vlog, but he isn't subscribed, so I've been trying to convince him to subscribe ever since he told me that. Jimmy makes a call to 35.
Take all my money, I'm not subscribed.
Oh gosh, I'm just gonna fold. I'm just gonna fold then.
Heading off to a flop, with that being said, which comes 4, 8, 9, no diamonds. I check it, and Jimmy checks it back. Turn comes another 8, no help whatsoever for me. I check, and Jimmy bets 30. Ace high could be good versus Jimmy's wide limping range, so I do make the call. Let's see a river, which comes the king of clubs. I check for a 3rd time, and Jimmy now bets $125.
Subscribe right there. This is better than OnlyFans right now.
Better than OnlyFans. What, Jimmy? He's been trying to get on the vlog all night, so I really think he's just making a move here. A king on the river is a great card for me in general, and he really bet big here, polarizing himself. I flip up my hand to see if he'll react at all. He doesn't, and for the newest next-gen subscriber, because I clearly like to donate to fans, I make the call with ace high, and he shows 4s full of 8s.
Right, newest subscriber, right? Newest subscriber.
If you haven't already, guys, please subscribe right now so my $125 donation to the fan base will be worth at least a couple new subscribers.
This hand we have pocket 8s in the small blind. The low jack opens it up to 20, and this was the action player at the table. The button 3-bets him to 60. The button was a pro player, and I think he's trying to isolate the low jack. I see the low jack assemble the green $25 calling chips in his hand, and so I actually elect to call the $60 here. I normally don't flat 3-bets out of position here, but given the circumstances, I do so here, and the big blind folds. So we go off to a flop, hoping for 1 card and 1 card only. And that flop comes king 10-8 with 2 hearts. Yes, we flop the set. The plan is going perfectly. I actually debate donking on a board like this, given the opponents in the hand, but I do go for the more common check. And the low jack does the donking for us and donks $100. The button makes the call, and on this dynamic of a board, we are not going to be slow playing our set. I go for the check raise to $325, and both of them unfortunately make the fold, but we scoop a nice one here.
We're picking up all the premiums tonight. We've got pocket jellos in the small blind. Hijack min clicks it to 10. I 3-bet him to 55, and he is the only caller, so we're heads up to a board of 10-8-3 with 2 diamonds. We don't have a diamond in hand. I bet $75, and he makes a call. Turn is an offsuit 9. We have an open ender to go along with our overpair, and I bet big here, sizing up to $250, and he quickly makes a call. He's got about 600 left in his stack when the river rolls off an offsuit king. Now the question is whether to go for value again or check this one back and go into check call mode. We can get value still from hands like ace 10, queen 10, and jack 10. However, our opponent can have king high diamond draws and some 2 pairs like king 10, king 9, or even king 8 suited. I decide to check this one to him, allow him to possibly bluff, but he checks this one back. I table my hand expecting to be good, and we are versus ace 10 offsuit. We scoop in another pot, and this session is going swimmingly.
Brad has taken the 5 seat, and it's time to fight for some infamous Bradley dollars. I look down at ace 4 of hearts in the low jack with a $10 straddle on the button. We open to 40. Brad now puts his phone down behind his chip, so it looks like we're going to get some action, ladies and gentlemen. Brad calls in the small blind and the rest fold. The most famous poker vlogger on YouTube versus the biggest poker TikTok channel in the world. Let the battle begin with a flop of 7-3-3. Brad checks. We have backdoor hearts and backdoor straight draw possibilities. We can probably get his better ace highs to fold with a bet here on the flop and a bet on the turn if they don't approve. I down bet to $35 and Brad snap calls. He just called in the small blind, significantly capping his range pre-flop. He shouldn't have that many threes besides one combo of ace 3 of clubs, so we're feeling good about our bluffing strategy. And then the river comes the ace of clubs. We improve to 2 pair with the bad kicker. It will be hard to get called by pocket 8s through 10s here or 7, so I decide to pot control just in case he has a better ace like ace 10 or ace jack. We check and the river comes the 5 of clubs. If Brad leads here, we're going to be sent deep into the tank. He does check though, giving us an opportunity for some value. I want it to look like I'm buying the pot with king queen. That missed, so I fire $100. While Brad is thinking, I'm thinking in my head, a small bet would have been better to target his weak pairs. Brad eventually makes the right fold, and we take this one down. What a fun hand to review versus the GOAT.
Here we have pocket aces in the small blind. You love to see it. We're $1,400 effective to start this hand, and under the gun makes it $20. Hijack calls, button calls. We are not calling. We 3-bet to $120, and under the gun, who I actually had pegged as a tight player, goes for the 4-bet to $300. One of the best things you can see with aces pre-flop. Folds back to me, and we are gonna re-raise, or whatever it is. We're 5-betting here, and we make it $650 to set up a pretty solid flop jam if he calls. He makes the fold, however, and we win over $300 just like that.
Another solid hand for us in the cutoff, ace queen of diamonds. I open it to 15 and the button and big blind defend. The flop runs out 7-6-6 with 1 diamond and 2 spades. It checks to me with 2 overs and a backdoor diamond draw. I decide to bet here with plans to double barrel on any good turn cards. I bet $20 and the button is our only customer. The turn is one of those cards to double barrel on. It's the 5 of diamonds. We improve to a flush draw. I size up to $55. The button does not think that's a fair price. He wants to make me pay more if I want to see the river card. He bets $150. Due to the board, it's unlikely he has a hand like 7-6 suited or 6-5 suited, and there's only 2 combos left of ace-6 suited, so our opponent's likelihood to have trips are kind of blocked on this board. This feels to me more like a feeler bet with either a pair of 7s or an overpair like 8s or 9s, even possibly a hand like ace-5 suited. If that's the case, we're still getting a pretty good price with 2 overcards in our flush draw, and this board favoring his range allows him to pick some hands to bluff way more often than usual. I'm planning just to lead out on the river if we hit a flush draw and go into check call mode if we hit a pair. I defend for 95 more and the river rolls off an offsuit 10. I check to him, planning to fold to a bet. However, it doesn't come to that when he checks it back. I tell him I've got ace high and he shows me king 4 of spades. I show him the ace queen and we scoop in another one. We just can't lose a pot tonight.
This hand we're up against Jonathan with the big stack from Waco. I'm in the big blind with queen 10 offsuit and raise it up to $35 over a button straddle. Jonathan on the button is our only caller. Flop comes 5-3 queen and I c-bet for $20, wanting him to stick around with 5 or 3x type of hands. He makes the call. The turn comes the 7 of spades, bringing in 2 spades. I size up now for $75, and he thinks for a while before indeed making the call. I'm putting him on something like a queen or something worse than a queen, hopefully. The river comes a beautiful 10 though, so nothing to worry about with top 2 pair. I bet $100, looking for some of our money back from hand number 1. Jonathan's a good dude. He pays us off. We show, and he calls us a river rat, so he must have had a better queen. I don't feel bad one bit. We don't get unstuck, but do scoop in a nice pot to end the night.
Here we have pocket 8s in the small blind now. We see a middle position limp. Low jack opens to $25. Hijack calls $25. Button calls $25. And I see a pretty juicy squeeze spot here. We just did the same thing with aces the last hand from the small blind, making a 3-bet. So let's do it here with 8s. I make it $150 and it goes fold, 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 and fold. We win $80 just like that using our image and the good squeeze opportunity to seize the day.
Here is a fun one. We got Jack 10 suited, the Frankie favorite. We're on the button. An early position action player opens it to 15 and a Euro Pro in the cutoff 3 bets to 55. We're really deep with the Euro Pro, and so I decided to defend on the button and see a flop in position. The action player calls 55 as well, and the flop runs out ace king 6 rainbow. It checks to the Euro Pro, and he shockingly checks this one over to me. I'd expect him to c-bet on this board quite often, so this is a little bit fishy to me. I check it though, and the turn is a queen of hearts. There are 2 hearts on board, and we drill the nuts. Wow, we are running good today. It checks to the Euro Pro, and he bets 120. Now the question is whether to call or raise. This board absolutely smacks his 3-betting range. It's going to be hard for me to pick many bluffs on this type of board, so I decide just to defend, and the early position player folds. Hopefully we'll get a clean run out on the river, and it is a disgusting one. It's an offsuit jack, making it way harder for me to get paid on this sort of river. Fortunately for me though, he bets $275. Now, I'm almost never going to be bluffing on this river, and it's really hard for me to do so, but I've certainly got to raise if I've got the nuts in my hand. I raise to $600, and before I even get the chips in the middle, he snap mucks. We scoop in another pot. Can't complain when you're making the nuts by just drilling gutters. What a solid session this has been. Sun run of a session this time, in for 500, out for 32.30. Great way to keep the 2-5 sessions running well.
Into the game for 750, out for 1690. Let's go, another big win. Poker's awesome. Love you guys.
Just got back from my trip to Oklahoma. Brad got everyone who came some free food and a drink ticket, so it was a great overall experience. Had a good time meeting him and talking to him afterwards. I was into the game for 2,800, out for 1,750. Lost all of it in that set versus set hand. That's all right. We got 2 really awesome videos coming up. A deep stack 2-5 session next Sunday, and the week after we have our meetup game where some crazy action happens. So make sure to subscribe, hit that bell, and I will see you guys next week. Peace.